Before you even look at the paintwork, there is one golden rule that you cannot break: the cold start. You must insist that the seller does not run the engine before you arrive. Reason? Why does this matter? Because a warm engine hides a multitude of sins. Heat expands metal and helps fuel vaporize. A bike with tight valves, low compression, or carburetors desperately needing a rebuild will struggle and cough when it's cooled. But if the seller warms it up for 10 minutes before you get there, it will fire up perfectly on the first touch of the button. They are masking a $1,000 repair job. Solution? Here is how you handle it. Before you go, text the seller, "Please make sure the engine is stone cold when I arrive. I need to do a cold start check." When you get there, before saying hello, carefully place the back of your hand against the engine case and the exhaust headers. If it's warm, the seller is hiding something. Walk away or tell them you'll wait an hour for it to cool down. When you do start it, listen. Does it idle smoothly immediately, or does it need constant throttle nursing to stay alive? That struggle is the sound of money leaving your wallet.
Next, drop down to the front wheel and look at the suspension forks. We are checking for blown fork seals. This isn't just about a messy bike, this is a major safety hazard. Because inside those tubes is hydraulic fluid that controls damping. The rubber seals keep the oil in. When those seals dry out or tear, the oil escapes. Sellers will wipe this down right before you arrive, calling it road brine. It's not. The danger here is twofold. First, your suspension will feel like a pogo stick, ruining the handling. But secondly, and more dangerously, gravity pulls that escaping oil downwards. Directly below the forks are your brake calipers and discs. If fork oil contaminates your brake pads, you will have zero stopping power when you need it most. Solution? The check is physical. Take your finger and run it around the shiny inner fork tube, right where it meets the rubber seal. Is your finger dry or is there a ring of oil? If they wiped it clean already, grab the front brake and compress the front suspension hard 3 or 4 times. Now check again. If you see a fresh ring of oil, the seals are blown. That's a messy, labor-intensive repair bill right off the bat.
Point number 3 is the biggest deception in the used market: tires. The seller will point proudly and say, "Look, plenty of tread left." Do not listen to them. Tread depth means nothing if the rubber is expired. Because motorcycle tires are not like car tires. The rubber compound is designed to be soft and sticky to grip the road when you lean. But over time, oxygen and UV light attack the rubber. It oxidizes. After about 5 years, even a tire with 0 miles on it turns hard, like plastic. A hard tire does not grip. You might take a corner on a cool morning, lean the bike over, and suddenly the front end washes out because the rubber couldn't grab the asphalt. You crashed because of good-looking old tires. Solution? You need to find the manufacturing date. Look on the sidewall for the letters DOT. Near it, you will find a 4-digit code in an oval circle. For example, 4220. The first 2 numbers are the week, the last 2 are the year. So 4220 means the 42nd week of 2020. If that date is more than 5 years old, those tires are trash. That's an immediate $300 to $500 you need to spend just to make the bike safe.
Every seller claims their bike has never been dropped. 90% of them are lying. You need to become a detective and look for the telltale signs of a crash that they forgot to hide. Reason? It is easy to buy cheap Chinese aftermarket fairings on eBay to make a crashed bike look shiny and new again. Sellers love doing this. But they often forget, or are too cheap, to replace the smaller contact points. A bike that has been down the road, even at slow speeds, can have hidden structural damage. a bent subframe, twisted forks, or cracked mounting tabs hidden under those shiny new plastics. Solution? Ignore the shiny paint for a minute. Look at the extremities, the parts that hit the ground first. Check the handlebar weights, bar ends. Are they scraped? Look closely at the tips of the brake and clutch levers. Are they curled up, snapped off, or filed smooth to hide scratches? Check the foot pegs and the edges of the mirrors, and look for brand new stickers. Often, a sticker is placed perfectly over a deep scratch. These are all clues that the bike has been down, regardless of what the seller says.
This next one is out of sight, out of mind, and it kills engines. You must look inside the fuel tank. Reason: many used bikes sit idle for months or even years. If they sat with modern ethanol-blended gasoline, that fuel absorbs moisture from the air. The water separates, sinks to the bottom of the steel tank, and begins to rust it from the inside out. This isn't just cosmetic rust. Flakes of this orange rust break free and get sucked into the fuel system. They clog the fuel filter, burn out the fuel pump, and if they get past the filter, they will destroy your expensive fuel injectors. You could buy a bike that runs fine today, but next week, a chunk of rust kills the engine on the highway. Solution: this is simple. Ask the seller to open the fuel cap. Turn on your phone's flashlight and shine it deep inside, moving it around to see the corners and seams. You want to see clean, shiny metal. If you see patches of orange, brown, or flaky material, you are looking at a massive headache. Cleaning a rusty tank is difficult. Replacing it is expensive.
The condition of the drive chain and sprockets is your window into how the previous owner treated the bike. It is the ultimate neglect indicator. Reason? A chain needs cleaning and lubrication every 500 miles. If a seller couldn't be bothered to spend 10 minutes doing that, what else did they skip? Did they ever change the oil? Did they check the valves? A neglected chain isn't just an indicator, it's a liability. A rusty, pinked chain saps horsepower, ruins fuel economy, and if it snaps at speed, it can crack the engine case or lock up the rear wheel, causing a massive crash. Solution? Get down low. Is the chain orange with rust? Is it bone dry? Look at the teeth on the rear sprocket. Are they nice and thick and flat on top, or are they sharp and hooked like a shark's tooth? Finally, go to the very back of the rear sprocket and try to pull the chain straight off the teeth. If you can pull it away and see daylight between the chain and the sprocket, the whole set is trash. That's another $200 you need to spend.
Everyone asks about brake pads, which are cheap to replace. Almost nobody checks the brake discs or rotors, which are very expensive to replace. Reason: every time you brake, friction wears away a tiny amount of metal from the disc surface. Over tens of thousands of miles, the disc gets thinner and thinner. Eventually, they fall below the minimum safe thickness. Thin rotors warp easily under heat, causing pulsing in the lever, and in extreme cases, they can crack under heavy braking. Sellers will slap cheap new pads on worn-out rotors to make the brakes feel okay for a test ride, hiding the real cost. Solution: you don't need a micrometer. Use your fingernail. Run your fingernail from the center of the braking surface outwards to the very edge of the disc. As you reach the edge, does your nail catch on a sharp raised lip? That lip exists because the rest of the metal has been worn away. If there's a distinct deep lip, those rotors are shot. A pair of new front discs can easily cost upwards of $400 or $500.
You must check the engine oil. We aren't just checking the level, we are analyzing the color and consistency to check the internal health of the engine. Reason? Oil is the lifeblood of the motor. Obviously, old pitch-black sludge is bad, but there is something much worse we're looking for: the forbidden milkshake. Liquid-cooled bikes have coolant flowing in passages right next to the oil passages. They're separated by the head gasket.
If that gasket blows due to overheating, coolant mixes with the oil. This creates a frothy, milky, light brown substance that looks like coffee with milk. This mixture destroys bearings rapidly. Solution: find the oil sight glass or unscrew the dipstick or filler tap. Look at the oil residue on the cap itself. Is it black or dark brown? That's okay, maybe just needs a change. But if it looks milky, frothy, or like a latte, stop immediately. Do not start the engine. Do not buy the bike. The engine has a blown head gasket or a cracked block and needs a complete teardown.
Deep, authoritative, serious, like a veteran mechanic giving warnings. If you want to save money and hear the unfiltered truth about motorcycles, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't be a victim. Ride safe.